In this video, I'm going to be working on this 2005 Kawasaki ZZR600. Obviously, you guys know that I'm not in my normal garage. I'm actually at the client's home, and I'll be working on this bike. And what we're going to be doing on this bike is we're going to be installing heated grips. Now let's go over to the bench and let me show you which ones I'll be installing. Now here is the brand that I'll be installing. I'm not sponsored by them. Been familiar with my videos for such a long time. Or if you're new to the channel, if I find something that's really good, I will mention the brand and everything, and that's that. If I find something good, I like to share it with you guys. So here's the brand. It's Oxford Heated Grips. It's a premium one. It's going to be the touring ones, as it's going to allow for comfort and all the good stuff. This one does come with a little control over here. The client will be able to adjust how hot he wants the grips to be. There's so many heated gloves out there, but the only problem is that they're so bulky, so that will limit being able to like feel for the controls and stuff like that, and they get so expensive. That's another thing. You know, if you could get ones that are, you know, made with a cable that you connect to your bike or whatever, you know, or you could get battery operated ones. The only problem with the battery operated ones is that, you know, once the batteries die, then you don't have any more heat, and so that's that. So the reason for heated grips, which would be perfect, is because now you could use your own set of gloves and, you know, be warm. And these are going to be connected to the motorcycle, so he'll never have to worry about, you know, anything dying. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start unboxing this as I'm talking. I know you guys don't really like unboxing videos, but I'm just gonna do it anyway. And over here you could see that they do have different other style of grips, you know, to match your needs. All right, so in the packaging we got the two grips. Like I had mentioned, we got the two grips. We also got, you know, the power cable right here with a fuse inside. At least I hope there's a fuse inside. If not, I will be installing one in there. And yes, there is one in here. It is rated at 5 amps, a little one. If you want, you could also change it to maybe a 10 amp. I wouldn't go any higher than that for these particular ones. So you got your left, you got your throttle side, and your other side is that the throttle side, the diameter is a lot bigger compared to the non-throttle side, which is a lot smaller. So if we look over here, you guys could see the one here on my right is the throttle tube side. The one on my left is the non-throttle tube side. So that's one indication on knowing what is what. So then besides that, they do give you the mounting bracket so you could attach your little control box, which is awesome. So we'll be finding a nice little comfortable spot for that. Then they also include some zip ties and some glue, and I think some double-sided sticky tape here. All right, now we're over at the bike. Now the first thing we need to do is we do need to remove your old hand grips. There are two ways to do it. The one way is going to be with a razor blade. Just going to go ahead and cut the grip off. And then the other way, which is a little bit more time consuming, but you know, I'm not sure if this client, which by the way is not only a client, but he's also a very good friend of mine, I'm not sure if he wants to, you know, use these grips for later on. So I'm not going to cut them. I am going to remove them with the second method, which is going to be some WD-40 and, you know, spray it inside here and use a screwdriver and a Phillips to kind of just loosen it up and take it out. So I'm going to be showing you that method now. So first we're going to have to remove some bar ends. So he does have bar ends on each side. Okay, now that I removed the bar end, now we're going to go ahead and grab some paper towels. You want to make sure that you kind of protect the fairings from any oil that's going to spill, and if it does, it spills on the paper. So next, we're going to grab a Phillips or a screwdriver, it doesn't matter which one. And the reason for is because we want to put this inside of the grip. Then we're going to go ahead and spray some WD-40 inside. So I'm just going to kind of grab the lip a little bit and then kind of stick the screwdriver or Phillips in there. Just kind of want to kind of create a little pocket to allow the fluid of the oil to get in there. This one has a little straw, which makes it perfect. So just going to pull a little bit, and don't spray on the tube itself. You want to spray right where you're, you know, where you're lifting. You want to spray on the inside on this part right here. You can see that there's a throttle tube right there. You don't want to spray there. So make sure that you spray a couple squirts in there. So I can do this for you guys. There you go. Put it in there and then squirt a couple squirts. All right. And then you're going to move it around. And then you're going to do the same thing on this side. And then after that, you're just going to let it sit for a second, pretty much move it around. You can see it's already kind of, well, obviously the throttle tube is spinning, but you can see it's actually almost coming off. So keep on doing this process until you actually get the whole entire grip off. Okay, so I already sprayed it. So it's going to, you can see it's pretty much freely spinning. And there we go. Now that we got this grip off, we can go ahead and clean off the excess oil. And besides having this cleaned off with this part right now, we're also going to put a little bit of rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to clean the rest of the oils and everything, as you don't want any of that stuff when installing the new grips. So do the same thing on the other side. And I've already sprayed the oil in there, just letting it sit since I was doing the throttle side. So you could see it's already spinning. So it's gonna twist and pull out at the same time. And there we go. Here's this one. So now if the client wants to use these at a later time, or maybe he doesn't like the heated grips or something happens down the road, he could actually reuse these grips. Or maybe he could even sell it to someone else who needs some grips, because these grips are still in pretty fair, good condition. Okay, now this is what I'm going to be using to clean the metal bars. It's going to be this alcohol. This one is at 90% or 91%. So just going to get a clean paper towel, put some on here, and make sure that you clean the bars on both the non-throttle and the other side as well. Okay, so right now we're going to do a dry fit. Now what I mean is I'm going to install these temporarily, because you could see on these they actually have their cable system right here. You can't move it. This is in place with the hand grip itself. Now the reason I'm showing you this is because when installing this, you could see on how far this sticks out from the grip, and obviously we have our clutch over here. We don't want anything to disturb the clutch when shifting and stuff like that. So when installing this right now, it will fit without doing anything because it's on there. So if we have the hand grip here, now check it out. When we pull into the clutch, you could see it hits the cable. You definitely don't want that. So what we're going to do is just want to make sure that you look prior to install, because we are going to put glue on this grip to put it on there. As you can see, it is a pretty firm fit, which is perfect. We're going to turn it until we don't have that issue anymore. And I would say probably turn it about where it's going to be flush with the casing of the plastic over here. So I would say probably about right there. So therefore we make sure we have full engagement when pulling in that clutch. Now the same thing is going to apply with the other side when we get to it, but I am going to show you on both sides. So now that we know exactly where we're going to be positioning this, I'm going to have a reference point here. I could see like a little part where they put these two halves together. It's going to be like around there. So let's go ahead and remove this. We're going to put the glue in and I'm going to slide it back in, and then we're going to let the glue set, and then we'll work on the other side. Because I wanted to show you the reference point that I'll be using and that you could probably use as well if you have the same particular bike or any bike for that matter. You could see here is the join line when they were fabricating these grips. You could see it goes right here, goes up to there. Let me see if I can shine a little light to it. And then I'm going to match it up with the plastic here, as these are the two halves on the plastic. So that'd be a good reference point when putting the grip in place. Therefore, you know this can be clear and be able to use the lever. So that's what I'm going to be using. So because of the time of the glue that's given with this set, it's a super glue. So you know that the dry time is going to be extremely quick. All right, so here is the glue that they provide for you. Now this is a fast setting glue, so you're not going to have that much time after applying it on the grip and then putting it and sliding it into its place. So that's why having a reference point and knowing where you're going to set it quickly is key. All right, so here is the grip tube, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit right pretty much on the circumference here on the inside here, and also on the other end from this side, and I'll put a little bit on the inside as well. I may even just put a little bit to kind of drip down in there as well. So once we slide it in place, it will set. We just have a limited time on doing so. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'll try to record it for you guys so you guys can see in real time when installing it. All right, so I think I got the camera at a good angle so you guys can see. Sorry if the light I have on my head is moving around. This thing does come sealed, so you're gonna unscrew in this, punch a little hole, and then screw this back on. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna put a little bit on the on the inside here. As you can see, I'm just kind of going around with it there, and then we'll put some on here. Make sure when you put it on the inside, you make sure you put it on the plastic part itself. You don't want it anywhere else. Again, you have a very small amount of window to actually set this, so I'm gonna try to hurry up and get this on there. All right, and right about there. I see my 2 points are aligning, and we are good. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let that sit. Now we're gonna go ahead and work on the other side. All right, so now we are on the throttle side of the bike. All right, you can see that there is a nice little mark right here on the throttle side. And again, we are going to match it with this line right here. Gonna do a real quick dry fit. It's not gonna fit all the way, but at least we know. I'm going to try to match it up to that marking, so that way both marks are aligned with each other. On this side, this is the brake side, obviously, so we don't have to worry about it, hitting. But at least we know we have it at a good angle where it's not going to hit, even if it did. Even if we had it at, at the throttle here, we know it's not going to meet each other. So we're good on that department. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing and put the glue on this one as well. We may have to tap this one a little bit more so we can get it all the way in. But I wanted to show you on this side, on the inside, you can see that this is rubber here. And when installing the glue, you want to make sure that you have it really deep in there on the plastic part itself and not here on the rubber part. Same thing on this side. As on this side, it starts off as plastic here on this side, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you do get some excess on this part, just make sure you wipe it off with the piece of paper. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get this all glued up and slid into place. Also, since we're doing it on the throttle side, it would be a good idea to actually put a piece of paper over here on this side, just because that this glue can be a little watery, and you definitely don't want any drops of glue falling on the fairings. All right, so let's go ahead and start putting the glue in. All right. Make sure as you're doing it, you're squeezing it and turning the tube as well. So that way that the glue can actually run down alongside the tube on the inside. All right. Okay, let's get it in its place. There. And as you can see, the glue is dripping, so I'm glad I caught that. All right, so it pretty much slid into place fairly well. Everything is lined up, so guys, that I'm kind of working on it and not moving the camera around. All right, so we are going to let that sit. Now these actually fit in there perfectly. As you can see that it's perfectly lined up with the throttle tube. It doesn't stick out, so there's no modification needed when installing it on the bike, which is perfect. Now we're just gonna give it a little bit of time to set, and in the meanwhile, while this the both sides, the throttle side and the other side are drying, let's go ahead and access the battery so we can connect the cables. All right, to get access to the battery, it's gonna be located underneath the seat. Pretty much on almost all sport bikes, the battery's underneath the seat. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put this seat somewhere else so I don't want it to slide off of the bike. All right, so now we have access to the battery, which is right there. Now, before we actually connect these cables to it, you can see that they come with these already on there, but I'm gonna go ahead and snip them. I'm not gonna snip them here. I'm just gonna snip them over here, creating the letter C. Now, the reason is because if you're familiar with any type of sport bike battery, the bolt of the battery, when you're unscrewing it, falls, and it's really hard to get it back if you don't have one that's already threaded from the battery. So in order to limit that headache, cut a little piece off of here, like I said, kind of creating the letter C. And the reason that I'm doing it again is because now instead of taking the whole bolt out, we're just going to loosen the bolt, and then we're going to slide this in and tighten it. Makes life a lot easier and therefore limit your frustrations. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for both, and then I'll show you when we install it onto the battery. All right, so on this particular battery, we have two different bolts, even though in yours you're going to have two of the same, mainly this one. So we're going to only work on this one. Obviously, it'll be a different situation here, but at least I'll show you for this. So it's going to be a 10mm socket to get that one loosened. On that side is the negative, so I'm going to go ahead and grab my cable, which is right here. We're going to grab this side, loosen it. We're not going to take it out. We're just going to loosen it a little bit, and then we are going to install the cable, and then we're just going to slide it in place. If you can't slide it in all the way at right way, just go ahead, since you already have it there, just go ahead and loosen it just a little bit more until you get it all the way in its spot. It could be because there's another connector here, so I'm gonna just go on top of it, and if need be, maybe I could just probably remove this one, loosen it up a little bit more, and it could be that maybe I didn't cut the C big enough, so I'm gonna go ahead and snip a little bit more so I can slide it in its spot. Okay, so that was the case. I just needed to snip a little bit more. All right, so now that we got both pieces in there, you're gonna go ahead and just tighten down the bolt. All right, nice and tight. Okay, you can do the same thing with the positive side. Okay, now that we got the wires already connected there, now we have to run the line. We're gonna run it over here, up through around the tank, and over here. So what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna have to remove these two bolts that are holding the tank in place, and it's gonna be with a 5mm Allen key, both one right here and one over here. So go ahead and loosen those up, pop up the tank, and then run the wire. While you're doing it, you wanna make sure you get some zip ties to actually tidy up the wire, making sure that the wire is not being pinched or snagged on anything. Alrighty guys, we are going mobile. Alright, so you can see I already have everything connected and nice and neat. I decided to take out the fuse just because the prongs do stick out a little bit on the connector. Let me go ahead and show you right over here. So here is the connector here in the front, and I didn't want these two, since they would be live, meaning that whatever would touch them would probably create a short or burn the wire. So by removing the fuse, I don't have to worry about that. All right, so you can see run the cables through here. I ran it under here, going through this part over here. Over here, I found some other wire that I could actually connect or attach the zip tie to. It's kind of hard to see in there, guys. Sorry, the little light in there. All right, so you can see I can zip tie it over there. Running over here, some other wires that I found there. So I was able to attach another zip tie going up through here. And then this is part of, I put the excess cable right there, as you can see, as you don't want the excess cable over there in the front. So hiding the excess cable here was a good choice. After that, running the cables through the frame, and they come out right over there, which, let's see if I can even focus there. So you can see that they come out through there, and it pretty much comes up to here in the front, and that's where we're at right now. So here is the cable right there. All right, so next we're gonna undo all these cabling. This is from the grips, and we're going to attach the controller. But before we attach the controller, we need to go over to the bench and attach the bracket with the controller. So let's go ahead and get the tripod, and let me show you how to do all that. All right, we are over at our bench here. Now here is the bracket. Now this bracket is going to attach to the brake or the clutch side by these two bolts. Anyhow, here is the bracket. Here are some spacers that we're going to be, because we're going to have to replace the screws, the stock ones, with these longer ones. They do supply you with 4 in case you happen to lose 2. You have 2 still. So that's that. And then we got 2 spacer, and then we got these 4 little tiny screws. Then you got a little pad. You peel the pad, put it right here, and then stick it there as well. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and peel the back end of this, and we are going to put it over here. And you want to make sure that you put it in between the screws, because I also think that you could probably attach this if you wanted to not use the bracket and maybe put this somewhere else. You could use the sticky tape to actually install it in that location. So I'm gonna make sure I have it make sure I have this centered. It looks T-centered. All right, so now that we got that on there, go ahead and give it a firm press. Make sure it's really on there. All right, so next we are going to peel the back end of this other side, as so, and then we are going to attach our bracket. Now the camera's kind of in my way right now, but you kind of see where I'm going with this. So once we attach this, then we're going to put our 4 screws in, and don't forget to tighten on the screws as well. And it's going to be with this very tiny, Phillips screwdriver right here. So if you happen to have a small screwdriver, that's going to be the time to use it. Okay, so now that we're done pretty much setting the wires, you can go ahead and put your tank down, put your screws back in, tighten them up, and then we could also put our seat back on for the battery compartment. So we don't really need to do anything back there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put the seat back in its place. All right, so now all our concentration is going to be towards the front now. All right, so let's go over to the front, and it may be a little tricky over here to kind of show you everything, guys. I'm gonna try to do the best I can. All right, so now we are concentrated on the left side, the non-throttle side, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna remove these 2 screws. That's gonna be with a 5mm Allen key. One here, one here. So let's go ahead and remove those 2 screws. Okay, now that we're done removing the 2 screws, next we're gonna grab our long bolts, and we're gonna also grab these 2 collars. Anyhow, we're also gonna put a little bit of thread lock at the end of the screws. Thread lock I'm gonna be using is gonna be this blue thread lock here. There we go, blue thread locker. All right, so here is our bracket. So first we're gonna put a screw, and probably start with this bottom one, put it through it like this. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the collar, slide the collar in like this. And then we're gonna go ahead and put a little bit of thread lock. Then after that, we're gonna grab our bracket here, and then we're gonna install this part in like so, this, and then we're gonna attach it back on the bike. Now the reason for the collar is because you can see it creates that gap space that we need, because without the collar, let me show you if I take out the collar. If we don't have it, you're gonna see that this bracket is not gonna sit good. You can see it's gonna be kind of like this, and then we attach this. It's not gonna be, that great, and it may bend the bracket. So you want to make sure you have the collar, because it creates that spacing, and that so it could be an even fit. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put that back on. Then see with the collar, now it's gonna sit perfect. Now you want to do that for both screws. Okay, now after you get the bracket on there, you want to go ahead and hand tighten the bracket onto its spot right there. All right, so and then after you hand tighten, you can't get it anymore. The size for this nut is going to be an 8mm socket. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my 8mm, and you want to make sure that you have it pretty much at the level or where you had the your lever before. And if anything, you could always do an adjustment later on if it's not exactly where you had your lever to begin with. Make sure you have it very snug and tight. All right, looking good so far. Okay, so next, now we're gonna have to grab all our cabling, which is right here. Okay, so I'm going to grab all our cable. I'm going to start connecting everything now. And as of right now, everything that the glue has already set, as you can see, is not going anywhere. So now let's grab our cable and we're going to start connecting it. And you want to make sure that the cable is going to be out of the way. You want to make sure when you're, routing cables that they're not going to get pinched anywhere. So it's be a good idea to follow other cabling that's already there. So I'm going to go ahead and follow the cable that's already here. And I'm going to start putting zip ties and kind of routing everything. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'll pretty much show you how I did it. But other than that, you're you're gonna see that from the controller, we're gonna have our main cable here, and then we're gonna have these two. Now these two are gonna pertain to the left and the right grip, I would say. So when attaching, you're gonna see that they only could go in one way. So with the close up over here, you can see there's a little notch right there, and on this part, you can see there's a little notch there. So when plugging it in, they could only go one way. They can't go any other way because it won't let you. Once you have it in, just go ahead and put the little cap, and then go ahead and screw it down. Okay, I already got everything back in place. Now this is what you want it to happen when you're giving it throttle. You want to make sure that it snaps in place. Now, the other key thing is that when putting the cable, you're not going to be able to zip tie it right away through the front, because we do need, that cable to kind of, be free up to here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to route the cable through here, and you can see me pulling on the cable right here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it in over there. And now you want to make sure that you leave enough slack for it to move around. As you can see, you definitely want that. So right there. And then I'll probably put a zip tie here on this bracket here, just to kind of hold it in place. But again, I'm going to keep on checking to make sure that the cable is not being tugged or pulled on, and that there's plenty of slack for it to be freely moved. Alrighty guys, I see we're going mobile. So I already routed the wires. Want to make sure that it snaps back, and as it does, as you can see. Okay, next routed the wires through here, right through here, and I bunched them up over here, as that's pretty much all of the cable slack. You want to kind of just put it away, put it in an area that's not going to bother anything. Then I got all the rest over here, and then this cable over here run through here. Now this one you could actually tighten it really good, because obviously this one's not going to go anywhere. So I got a zip tie right through there, and zip tied here. Then I kind of just bunched all the wires and zip tied everything over there. So then you want to make sure that you move your handlebars, make sure that there is no snagging anywhere. All right, so even though I did put the seat, it is easy to get back to this part, as I do need to, because if you noticed earlier, I did remove the fuse so I wouldn't short anything out or touch, have the positive and negative touch. So right now I'm actually going to go ahead and put the fuse back in, then I'll put the seat back on. Okay, now we are all set. Now when he's riding, you could go ahead and just get access to the buttons at any time he wishes. Let's go ahead and zoom in and let me show you how to turn on the system. Now, since it is directly connected to your battery, you do not need to have your bike on, but just note that you don't want to keep the system on without your bike on, as to not drain the battery. To go ahead and to turn it on, so I'm going to go ahead and press the plus, and then it goes right away to 30%. I'll probably get a better close-up shot of the details here. If you keep on pushing plus, you're going to keep on getting warmer and warmer. So we're going to go 50%, 70%, 80%, and then 100%. And then to turn it off, just keep on pushing the minus until you get down to 30, then push it again, and then it turns off the system. Now over here, you have your battery saving mode, and I believe that when the system notices that your battery is at a critical level, the system will completely shut down, therefore to conserve battery and not kill your battery. That's a good thing option that has if you were to run this without your bike running. All right, so as you can see that the temperature of the hand grip is fairly low. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do a time lapse with a timer showing how long it's gonna take to get it to a comfortable temperature. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and stop the timer. As you guys can see that the temperature is going up. As you can see, we're using a different type of thermometer. This is one for your forehead, so we're running the temperature already. All right, so this isn't going any higher, but just to the touch already, you could already definitely feel that they're warming up, and for sure you're gonna have a lot more comfortable riding. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off, push it over here, turn it off. All right guys, so that pretty much concludes the video, and if you guys enjoyed it and found this very helpful, please smash that like button. If you hated the video, smash the dislike button and let me know down below on why you hated the video to help me improve for a future one. If you know anyone else that lives in a colder climate area, or just heck, you wanna just be comfortable when you're riding, please share my video, share it on all social media platforms. That would help me out a lot. If you guys have any other further questions, leave them down below. And you know what? While you're down there, please hit that subscribe, notification bell. That way you guys are up to date with my latest uploads and installations. Alrighty guys, you guys take care, because right now he is super satisfied with this installation and I think he wants to go out for a ride. Alright guys, take care. Catch you guys in the next one.